Hi guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Josh and I'm here with my very good friend and colleague Helen. And we're talking about something that I've only really learnt about and experienced because of difficulties and challenges that my clients have gone through over the years. And as I've got older as a hair colorist, my clientele's got a bit older, and it's a subject that I feel I think it's really important to have real transparency and share information. I'm a great believer that everybody's journey isn't the same when one's talking about menopause. But let me introduce Helen, and you can say who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into the conversation a little.
Great, thank you, Josh. Thank you for that lovely introduction. My name is Helen Normoyle, and together with my very good friend, Dr. Claire Spencer, we co-founded My Menopause Centre, and you can find us on Instagram at My Menopause Centre, all one word. Now, we founded My Menopause Centre just about a year ago. We decided to set up the business during COVID, and we did it for a couple of reasons. Starting with, Claire helped me enormously as I was going through menopause, and I had some pretty rubbish symptoms, and I really struggled to find the right care and advice. And as well as being a brilliant GP, Claire at that time was also training to become a menopause specialist, and she is an excellent menopause doctor. And I was sitting on the sofa with her as we are now. She helped me enormously, and I left thinking, I really wish I could bottle up all of her knowledge and expertise so that we could share it with women all around the UK and all around the world. Because so many women, Josh, unbelievably, it is unbelievable when you think there are 15.5 million women at some stage of the menopause transition in the UK. Every woman will go through it, and still so many women enter the menopause completely unprepared.
Yeah. I mean, just to say that we opened up for questions a couple of days ago. We've got some really insightful understandings of what people are going through, so we're going to talk about those later. But if you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat. The team are here helping us really be able to give you as much information as we possibly can. I mean, obviously, it's not something physically that I could experience myself, but seeing some incredibly confident and high achieving women, not only in business, but some of my clients that have had 3-4 children, and they've done an amazing job of that. It's a really interesting thing for me when I'm dealing with hair that hair does get affected quite dramatically during menopause, but the confidence or the lack of confidence and the almost feeling that people are vanishing. I've been astounded by the people that I know that I say one could look at them as very gregarious, outgoing people, and there can be almost, not quite overnight, but in a very short period of time, a massive change in their personality and their lack of confidence.
Yeah, and very sadly, Josh, that's something that we see happen all too often. And it's because, obviously, as you go through the menopause, the first stage of the menopause transition is the perimenopause. And in that stage, as Claire would describe it, your hormones are fluctuating wildly. So it's the ups and downs of the levels of estrogen that are causing all of those psychological and physical symptoms. People often think about hot flushes and night sweats, but many people don't realise that anxiety, loss of confidence and self-esteem, depression, brain fog, memory, concentration issues, they're also symptoms of menopause, and there's absolutely things that you can do to manage them to get your life back on track. But you're right, women feel like they're losing themselves, and that's something that you hear a lot. I feel like I've lost myself. I don't know who I am anymore. And very sadly, and we saw this in the recent Davina McCall programme, so many women decide that if they are working, they need to leave work. They don't feel they're performing at the level they've done in the past, or they might cut their hours or not put themselves forward for promotion. So there's a massive personal cost, but also there's an economic and I think a cost to society. I think when women really get the care they deserve and embrace their menopause, society, the world would be a better place for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really, really good point. I mean, there are some common themes of you've got some questions that your community asked. I think there's a common theme around thinning hair, which I think we should park that a little bit until we get some actual real life cases that we can talk about. But this idea of scalp health and what you can do to best best manage the symptoms when they start.
Yeah, and I think so. What we would always say is that really look at your lifestyle. So I think the foundation blocks for everything are, what are you putting into your body? What are you eating? Are you exercising? How are you exercising? As we get older, resistance training is hugely important. So we're building muscle strength. It really helps our bones, because obviously one of the effects of menopause and in the post-menopause is it impacts bone health and heart health. So exercising, if you're smoking, please stop. I can only say please stop. You'll reap the benefits of it in years to come. Because I should say, Josh, in the last 100 years, women are now living twice as long post-menopausal as they did, because life expectancy is growing. So if you've 40% of your life ahead of you after you've gone through the menopause and into the post-menopause, you want to get the best out of it. It's not just about how long you're living, it's the quality of the years that you have. And so coming back to, I think what we were chatting about earlier, your nutrition and your exercise is so important. One of the questions I had for you is, and I'm guilty of this myself, I never normally think of my scalp when I think of my hair and my hair condition. I kind of think about what's the colour like, what's the cut, how does it feel? But I must say, kind of confused. I do wonder, should I wash it less or should I wash it more? Because you hear very conflicting advice, so I'd love to get your expert view on that.
Yeah, as I say, one size doesn't fit all. And I think everybody's journey, especially with their health, should be looked at as an individual. But in theory, the scalp is an organism like the skin is an organism, and I think the most important thing to really think about is, any dermatologist that I've ever worked with has always said to me, a clean scalp is a healthy scalp. So actually upping the shampoo regime, making sure that you've got debris or pollutants off your scalp and hair. Of course, when you're shampooing, you're also massaging the scalp, which is incredibly important, getting that blood stimulus to each of the follicles. Now, outside of that, I would say, if your hair's very, very greasy, shampooing too much can overstimulate the thing called the sebaceous gland, which produces oil. But most people I see, when they're going through the menopause, are like, my hair's dry, it's frizzy, it doesn't feel like my hair. So yeah, a clean scalp is always a healthy scalp. Now, the one thing to think about is, if you're going to shampoo your hair more often, how are you going to dry it? Because what I wouldn't advocate is a clean scalp but more straightening irons or more hot irons or too much blow drying. So you've got to figure out a regime of what works around shampooing and how you're going to dry or style your hair afterwards.
Yeah, that's excellent, Josh, and it really resonates with something we see as well. Every woman's experience of the menopause is different. When she starts the menopause, when she finishes it, how long her symptoms last, what symptoms she has. So menopause care is not a one-size-fits-all. So it's really important that, say, I don't project my experience of menopause onto my sister or onto my friends. So exactly as you're saying here, there are general principles around advice, but you've got to tailor it to where you're at.
There are these big themes that I think virtually everybody's going through, but the actual individual symptoms and the individual needs is down to that individual person and their body. We find that in our the way that we approach Josh with colour, and how we try to unlock the best shade for somebody, really give them a colour that isn't cookie cutter and feels completely unique to them and their skin tone, because that's confidence giving as well. We have a team of experts that do video consultations that can really help people. Most people get a bit lost. They don't really know what colour suits them or what shade they are, how grey they are. So for me, expert-led advice all the time when you are trying to understand your hair and your scalp.
Well, I think the online consultations, the expert consultations that you offer are just brilliant, because you have a beautiful saloon here in London, your atelier, and with the most amazing stylists. But what I love is the way you've democratised it. You've democratised your expertise and you've made it available to women all around the UK, so which is absolutely fantastic, because so many women, you mentioned it at the top of the call, when they go through menopause, their confidence is shot. And there are so many things that impact our confidence. So if we're feeling anxious, if we're feeling stressed, clearly it'll impact. If we're putting on weight, that can impact confidence. As we've discussed though, hair can massively impact confidence. So it's the conflation of all these symptoms. They cluster and they come together and it can create a downward spiral. And sometimes it's hard to make a decision on anything. Do you want tea or coffee? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So trying to make a decision then about what colour your hair should be, that's where having some experts that you can speak to kind of give you that confidence boost, to guide you through your decision making is so important.
I mean, it was really important to me, Helen. I mean, I've been hairdressing, I've been colouring hair for a very long time, and I've been able to work with some incredible people throughout my career. But I really felt that all that knowledge and the expertise needed to be shared with a much wider audience, and that's why everything that we do at Josh Wood Colour is about trying to help the individual find the best look for them, and that also comes down to talking to some people about going grey or introducing a little bit of grey. It's we're not just saying we want to sell you a hair colour. What we're saying is we want to give you the advice and the tools and the education to empower you to be able to find the right colour, manage it, and really unlock the potential of your hair when it could be transitioning to grey, or the texture's changing, or the condition's gone, or whatever that may be.
Yeah, and for perhaps some of the members of our community who aren't as familiar with your service, how does it work? Do they just go online and book an appointment?
Yeah, there's two routes. You can do a online consultation, or you can talk to an expert. But I mean, for me, it's not about going. It's about helping people find the right colour for them. I mean, that's 90% of what I do. I mean, the 10% is the application, and whether it's a highlight or it's a root cover grey, the real artistry and the real expertise comes with colouring thousands and thousands and thousands of heads over the years, and understanding what works, and what works if you're going a bit grey, you don't want to colour your roots so often, your blonde's fading, whatever it is. It's almost like data, isn't it? I've done so many heads of hair, I've got the data. I just want to share it in a different way.
Well, given your 3 decades of experience and the many fabulous women that you have helped over that time to find the right colour for them, what would your key pieces of advice or tips be for women? What questions should women ask themselves as they're thinking about the colour that's right for them?
I mean, I think for me, everything starts with condition. Because if you start with an amazing head of hair that's been tended and looked after, and you use a mask once a week, and you've got a good shampoo and conditioner, the colour result will always be better than if you start with something that's parched, undernourished. I think it's really interesting, again, what we were saying before we started the live. Diet's incredibly important for hair. So, a really good starting point of great condition generally gives you a much better end result. And that can also go down to things like, a lot of people say my grey doesn't cover, it's so resistant, it goes patchy. Quite often that's down to application. Nobody's been shown how to use a bowl and brush, or be able to apply the colour in a more professional way. But also as well, if the hair's super dehydrated and the cuticle layer of the hair is incredibly thick because diet isn't helping the hair to come through the hair follicle properly, that can also be a reason that the hair doesn't cover as well, if you're trying to cover grey hair. Well,
it comes back to diet is the foundation really for everything. Diet, sleep, exercise. And then now you mentioned a brush whose name I've already forgotten, but again with the B. So do your expert, your consultants, when you do the video consultations, do they provide advice then as well?
So it's a live consultation. It's a consultation to help you find the right colour, the colour cycle that you go through. So week 1 I put the colour on, but I see the first grey hairs in week 3 or 4, but I don't want to colour my hair again. Temporary solutions that give you the longest possible period of time between permanent colours. We focus very, very hard in on condition, really helping you understand how often to shampoo, what conditioner to use, where to put the conditioner. But I mean, my golden rule for hair in general is use a mask every week. It's that is the kind of that's the golden rule for me, because you're using a much more intense product to give the hair many more nutrients that it needs. So yes, I'd love everybody to use a specific shampoo and conditioner, but the golden rule for me is get that mask on your hair. And I don't care how it goes on.
Yeah.
Put it on dirty hair, go to the gym, sleep in it overnight, put it on however you want to put it on, but put it on.
Yeah. Really simple tip.
It's a bit like you're not smoking.
Yeah.
It's nice. Put a mask on your hair.
2 top tips: don't smoke and put a mask on your hair every week. Okay, brilliant. If I could maybe ask you, if I could kick off maybe with a question. So, as I say, this was the question that we got from a member of our community, so thank you, Lisa. So what she mentioned is that she has hair thinning and other hair problems that are hormone related, and it's impacting her hair growth cycle and her hair thickness. She's finding it especially around her forehead and her temples, and I would say I do find that as well, where you find it thinning more, and it's really impacting her confidence and self-esteem. So you can see how all these things are interrelated. So what advice would you have for her for thickness and for thinning, and particularly, what practical things can she do?
I mean, I think as we said, this is a big topic, thinning hair. I mean, and as you said, as estrogen levels as they drop and testosterone levels come up, the more testosterone one has, the more hair you're going to lose. So there are a million tricks that you can do with hair colour. You can make the roots look thicker. You can put a little bit of lightness into the ends of the hair that make it look slightly two-dimensional, so it makes it look thicker. You can't. I think we'd have to be looking at a more medical solution. If there's nothing you can do topically to the hair that is actually going to make the hair thicker or the hair follicle come alive again. But a lot of my clients say, the first time they see it is it's in the summer, they're driving and they put their sunglasses on their head and the hair goes back and they're like, oh my God, I've gone bald. And it really, really is, it's hugely shocking when you first see it. And a lot of people feel they feel shame. So I think there are 3 main subjects. So there's the mask that I've already said. So this is my mask, which is called a miracle mask. Called a miracle mask because it is that, simply a miracle, the ingredients. That will really help the dryness, the frizziness of the hair, especially on the temples. But it also helps to plump the hair. So what's there appears a bit thicker. There are some temporary solutions that we have, like the blending brush. So that is a brush application. You can just paint it into the roots of your hair. It helps to blend in grey. Now, grey temples and thinning is quite a complex subject, but I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible. White hair on the temple here, or grey hair, is very transparent, so you see straight through it. So quite often you feel much thinner on the temple because you're seeing the scalp straight away. So a slightly darker or more pigmented hairline really can immediately give you the appearance of thicker hair. Quite often people say to me, oh, I have many more highlights in the front now because I'm grey. That's fine if you've got thicker hair, but if you've got fine hair, you generally need hair that's fully pigmented. So it doesn't necessarily have to be brown. It can be dark blonde or a medium blonde or champagne blonde. But you need colour in the hair, not that the hair's completely transparent. And I think it also leads into so first of all, mask, make it look plump, make it look shiny. There are temporary products that you can use. You're going to work, you think, God, I'm grey and I can see through. Temporary product. Or if you're permanently colouring, it's about finding the right tone of colour. Do you need a warmer tone or a cooler tone or a neutral tone to really be able to make your hair not appear transparent and see-through?
That is incredible advice, Josh. And honestly, that product that you showed there with the brush looks super
easy.
Practical. Yeah.
I mean, it's wet to dry, so you can put it on dirty hair cleaner. Yeah. But I really, really like wet to dry rather than powdery products because my clients say, that are going through the menopause, they put the powder on, but the minute they start sweating, it kind of goes a bit gloopy.
I find that as well, and it's almost like you put talcum powder in, and then you rub your hands or whatever, and it comes out and it starts to come. And we spoke about scalp cleanliness and scalp health. It feels kind of gooky, and if you have hot sweats and night sweats, and you have that in your head, then you can feel like a cake in your head as well. So
Shall we start with a few questions that were already sent in?
Absolutely. Well, I feel like you've just kind of answered the first one, but I'm going to read it anyway just in case there are any other tips to add. So what is the best way to disguise thinning hair?
Multicoloured end result. So some dark, when you say multicoloured, that's when you combine dark hair and light hair together. It gives you the dimension that you're looking for. In natural non-grey hair, so fully pigmented hair. But you really can play around with a background shadow of something darker with a bit of light coming through it, and that really, I mean, when I've done it on some clients, they're like, it's like they think I'm a magician. It's pretty basic what you do, but
basic for you, Josh, not for anybody else.
But also as well, showing clients how to manage their roots at home so they don't go too dark or black on the hairline, and they keep the colour looking very natural. So I mean, that's, again, one size doesn't fit all, but there's a definite advantage to having hair that is a little bit more pigmented than see-through.
Fabulous. And then while we're here, do we have any tips for getting thicker hair post-menopause?
That's a good one. I mean, I think I'll let you answer that side of the question around diet and so on and so forth. But a lot of people say that they cut their hair off when they are in the menopause for lots of reasons. Quite a lot is because they feel it's shedding a lot and they feel it's thinner, so they think shorter is going to make it healthier. And cutting shorter because of sweating scalp. I mean, I'm a great believer for unlocking styling somebody that really works for them, their face shape, their lifestyle. For me, I think thicker hair post-menopause is a lot driven by diet and how one's lifestyle is. But you can, hair colour can be fun as well. It doesn't have to be like really boring and become a routine, become a utility. So I would say don't lock yourself into a style, be it short because you're driven to that, because you think, I can't cope with the hair and the menopause, and really explore with your hairstylist or your colourist how you can dial up your style a bit, I guess, which can in theory result to your hair feeling a bit thicker.
Yeah, and I think I would say as we age, hair thinning happens, and obviously with the menopause and the falling levels of estrogen and progesterone, that impacts what we have. So we have on our website a symptom checker, and we've got hair changes there, and there's advice in that. So whether you'll ever go back to the thickness of hair that you had pre-menopause, I don't know. I think it's different for every woman, how every woman responds. And I suppose one of the things I've learned is kind of accepting where I'm at in life. And, I'm not going to be the person I was a decade ago or 2 decades ago. But I've got the wisdom now, 2 decades on, and I wouldn't want to be at it. And I think to Josh's point, it's about working with what you do have and making the most of it, and not trying to force something that's not there, because that can be very frustrating. It can be, it can provide a bit of a downer. So if you accept and love where you're at and love what you have, and then make the most of it, and then with the tips and advice that
it's almost like what you're saying is like don't be driven to a style because as a consequence of how you're feeling. Deal with the problem, and then have a style that unlocks
it, and
your
shows
beauty
you
and your potential.
Exactly.
Fabulous. What type of shampoos, conditioners, and styling products are best for people with thinning hair?
I think again this is it's a very personal subject. If you're looking there's no silver bullet in shampoos and conditioners that are going to suddenly give you thick hair. I think there's a lot of product on the market that says volume and bodybuilding and so on and so forth. And they can't make those claims unless there is some ingredient in there that is going to do exactly what it says on the bottle. But for me, really healthy hair that looks plump necessarily doesn't look thicker. It looks healthier and has more bounce. So I would be looking always a shampoo and a conditioner. Quite often people think that if they've got very thin hair that they shouldn't use a conditioner because it weighs it down. That's kind of it's slightly an old-fashioned mentality. And I think, getting hair looking in the most premium condition and hair that kind of has life and energy, looks thicker. There's not really topically many shampoos or conditioners that can ultimately make your hair thick quickly. There are ingredients that can build on over a period of time, making the hair slightly plumper. But I think get into a groove of what you feel works for you, and don't expect miracles unless you're using my miracle products.
Can the menopause cause an itchy scalp at night?
Yes.
I think if you experience night sweats, then it impacts, your whole feeling. If you get hot flushes or night sweats, it can definitely, you can feel hot, bothered, itchy, and then, so absolutely, I imagine, and I know because I get night sweats as well, and I feel not just itchy, but hot, sweaty, hot, cold. It's a nightmare. But there are things that you can do about it, and HRT for most women, most of the time, is a really good solution for helping with menopause symptoms, and particularly, including hot flushes and night sweats. And again, we have lots of information, free information and advice on our website about how to manage those symptoms.
Great. My hair texture has completely changed. Will HRT help restore it to its youthful past?
I think so I would say I'm not the medic on the team. Dr. Claire is, who's not here. We have a great article on hair care on the website. What HRT does is it replenishes and replaces the estrogen that your body is losing, and it will definitely help with a whole range of symptoms. But it's different for every woman. As we said at the top, every woman's experience of the menopause is different. How and how it works will differ as well. HRT is a brilliant solution, as I said, for most women most of the time. But there is, women's hair changes, and for men, our hair changes as we age. And that is something that is just a natural thing that happens in life as well.
I think also as well, because, the menopause starts at a certain age point, roughly, people are dealing with hair going grey and menopause, and they can be two very, very separate issues. So if you're going grey and your hair's going wiry and frizzy, you could have somebody that's not going through the same menopause experience that you are, that's having exactly the same hair change. So that question for me is, I think there are things one can do to tackle menopause and hair, and also there's another thing about thinking about how you're greying, which can be completely outside your experience of menopause.
Because women can go through the menopause typically from mid to late 40s, but it can go up to the mid 50s. So again, it comes back to every woman's experience is going to be different.
And our last question. My curly hair is falling out, but it's also losing its volume and texture. My confidence is very low. Is there anything I can do about this?
I think first and foremost is get some expert advice, because there could be a hairstyle that you could unlock, or a little bit of colour that would give you back some curl and bounce. Generally layering your hair gives you a bit more body and a bit more bounce. But first of all, I'm sorry that person's going through that, because it must be incredibly distressing. Start with the basics for me, which are condition. Get a great consultation about your lifestyle and health, but I think you can unlock a hairstyle and kind of like a new design for yourself, that it won't give you the hair back that you've lost, but it could give you hair that you've never dreamt of.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and again, really sorry to hear it. And it's like we say, all of these things, they can have such an impact on how we feel about ourselves. So I would say, on top of what Josh said, again, speak to an expert about how you can work with your hair as it is, but maybe speak to your GP or speak to a menopause doctor to understand, maybe are there other symptoms that you have going on, and look at what you're doing holistically in life. So again, a lot will come back to your nutrition, exercise, are you getting enough sleep, because they are the foundation blocks for so much of our health. And then, as I said, HRT can be a good solution for many women as well, on top of all of that.
There's just one thing that when I'm in the salon, my clients are saying to me, look, they've been colouring their hair for many, many years, they don't want to be grey. They really hate the idea of, they don't see themselves as grey. And they get a lot of concern about having to colour their hair, repeat colouring their hair very often, especially if they're brown. So your grey roots come through quite dramatically and quite quickly. And you know, they've maybe, you know, struggled with night sweats, and quite often then they're scratching the hair because it feels itchy. And they're very concerned about continually covering their grey hair. I mean, the most important thing is, if you're colouring your hair at home, is your allergy alert test. It has to be done every single time that you are going to colour your hair. I have always, again, because I'm sure as you can tell, condition's very close to my heart, I've formulated a permanent hair colour that is, it covers 100% grey hair, it's vegan, and I've developed a first of its kind conditioner that you actually add into the permanent colour. So it's actually colouring, it's conditioning as it's colour. I've always wanted to reverse the feeling that colouring hair is bad, and to try to make, to listen to what my clients are telling me about their concerns about repeat colouring. And my miracle shot that you add into the permanent hair colour, or I've put it all together now in this miracle kit that really is taking into account all of these things that we're talking about: thinning, loss of texture, lack of shine. So again, for me, don't be afraid of colouring, but get the right advice and use products that are kind and that over time are actually going to improve the condition of your hair, rather than, you know, making you feel. I mean, because I think if you're going through the menopause, you're thinning, you're drying, and then you're colouring. It's like, it feels like a vicious circle. But yeah, condition is at the centre of everything that I've always believed in.
Brilliant advice, and it really is about taking time out for yourself, to take the time to do the conditioning and to look after yourself. And then before we close, I should say that Josh has very kindly agreed to provide the community with a 30% discount. The code is MMC30, and again, really appreciate that. You. Josh, just makes it more affordable for people to try out your fabulous products.
Well, look, really interesting subject. I'm sure we haven't got round to answering everybody's concerns, but if you've got any specific concerns that you want me or the team to try to answer, please do get in touch. And as I say, our colour experts are online, ready to talk to you whenever you feel that you need some support and advice.
Thanks, Helen. Thank you, Josh. That was great. Thank you.